you have a story about Palythoa toxicity on yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah, back in 2017, I had just a random new client bought a 100-gallon wide aquarium, off of Craigslist, wherever, one of those all glass 100-gallon. And he asked me to come over and set it up. And I did that, and it was in July, and it was in a U-Haul. He drove it up like 2 hours, brought it to his house. I unloaded it, did the plumbing. It took a while to get everything together to get it right. And so at the end, my client was like, he's like, "Hey, do you mind putting the rock in?"
Oh no.
And that wasn't really what I was there to do, right? I was just there to maybe just put the tank together, make sure everything is running, and put the water in. So I'm like, well, that'll just be, I guess I figured I'll just make some more money on this, And so I did it, and I took they had some those rolling buckets in the U-Haul. So I rolled them in, brought them into the guy's house. As I was taking the rocks out, the water was kind of warm because it's been sitting in a U-Haul, right? And so as I'm picking them up, I pick up this one rock, and it has some really pretty mushrooms on it. And I'm staring at these mushrooms. And next thing I know, I noticed that my hands are kind of slimy. And one of there was pallies on one side. It actually squirted my eye.
Oh, shit.
All right. So at that moment, I said, "Oh, I just got squirted in the eye by a death pally." And everybody giggles, whatever else. And my eye actually kind of swelled up. It felt like a golf ball for a little bit. So I rinsed it out. I actually had some stuff to rinse it out. And in normal circumstances, I usually wear gloves. I usually wear goggles when I know I'm handling pallies. I'm very aware of that. But, shit happens. And so I didn't think anything of it. I went home, and then the next day I went into work, and I passed out at my desk.
Whoa.
So I thought maybe, yeah, but in my head, somehow or another, I'm working. I didn't put two and two together. It just, because I always thought of, Palytoxin as feeling more of a flu symptoms, the things you hear.
That's
right?
What's been to me.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people, maybe people's lips getting kind of tingly, this kind of thing. And I've had it before. I've been exposed to it. I know.
Metallic
but
taste in your mouth.
Yeah. And then I had one of my guys go get me some stuff because I thought maybe I had low blood sugar. So I get up. I want to go check on my corals in my coral room. And I walk in there, and then I end up passing out and hitting the ground.
Oh.
And by the time I realized that I actually passed out, I was actually standing back up. And, and I thought maybe I hemorrhaged. I didn't know what happened to me. Then I figured out that, my knees are scraped up. I had a loose tooth, the whole thing. And at that point, me being me, and, just, I didn't, everybody's like, well, maybe you should go to the emergency room, this or that. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I just have low blood sugar. And then
which you should still go to the doctor for, man.
Exactly. I know. So though I go through my whole day working, and my last client is a vet. And I tell him what happens, and he's a really good vet. He's like, "You're not leaving my office till I hook you up to my EKG."
Did he spay or neuter you?
Yeah, in the back room. So he brings me in the back room, and he hooks up the EKG. And this isn't just the regular ones. It has like the little metal roach clip things.
Put it on your
so
nipples?
He's like pinching me with those. Yeah, exactly. So he's kind of teasing me while I was doing it. And I guess my EKG was fine. He let me go. And then so I went home. I felt really bad. I felt just awful. And then the next day, the same thing happened. I started passing out. I must have passed out about 3 or 4 times. And then at that point, I went to the emergency room. And when I got there, they really didn't know what to do with me, because I told them, what happened, and this is what I thought happened. And I told them about Palytoxin and this and that. And I told the doctor and the cardiologist, and nobody had a clue. They thought I was having a heart attack or a stroke, or so they give me all the stuff for that, and they hooked me up to the machines. And of course, I'm my vitals are actually fine, right? So how when you go to the mechanic with your car making a noise and it doesn't make the noise when you're there. So the same thing was happening with me. So by chance, the cardiologist decided he would keep me overnight just for observation. And then the next day, I actually had an incident where my heart rate went down to about 15, 20 beats per minute for about 10, 15 minutes or so. And then when I came out of that, the cardiologist was actually kind of excited because he saw what happened, right?
He did the thing.
Yeah. So he's like, hey, your brain isn't sending signals to your heart to beat. So we're going to have to put in a pacemaker. And I said, well, I really think this has to do with my exposure to the Palytoxin. And he's like, well, I know nothing about that. All I know is what's in front of me. And this is what I recommend. And at that point,
if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Exactly. So, anyway, about a half hour goes by, and then all of a sudden I tell them I don't feel well, and then my heart stops.
Jesus.
And so anyway, my heart stopped for about 3.5, 4 minutes. And so
do you know, did they do that whole what's it, defibrillator?
They were pounding on my chest, whatever they were doing, and the whole thing. And I woke up, and at that point, then they rolled me in, and then they put in a pacemaker.
Wow.
Which later on I find out I didn't need, but so that was my experience with it. And I had some long-term.
It stopped your heart.
Correct. Yeah, it stopped my heart.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I about 2 weeks later, after I was recovering from all this, and went to see the cardiologist, and he did his due diligence. He called the woman at the CDC who was studying this, and they got all this information. He was like, "You're lucky to be alive," and so it's a cautionary tale when you're dealing with these pallies. You have to be real careful. And it can happen to anybody.
There's no way to answer this, but I wonder whether it was like the either the type of Palythoa or your inherent allergies or whatever you want to say, or disposition towards it, or where you got it. Maybe that was getting that right in your eye made a quick way into your brain, or that's crazy.
Yeah, and I had lots of cuts on my hands, so it got on my hands, the whole thing. The woman I actually didn't get to talk to her, but she told the doctor, the cardiologist, that I probably have been exposed to it over time, and this was just sent me over the edge this time.
Yeah,
you could see that
you can develop a sensitivity. Thank you. Just like jelly aquarists do, right? Jelly aquarists are fine, even with things like upside down jellies, which are very, very mild. And then all of a sudden, a year later, boom, any touching of that water, and they have a reaction right away. The other thing I want to say,
that with
oh yeah, you have that with what?
Euphilias.
Oh wow,
crossbones, hammers, same thing.
Yeah. I was in a discussion about Palytoxin with somebody, or I saw it go by and I was talking to somebody about it. That's saying the same thing two different ways without adding any new information. The discussion was about that they didn't know anybody, that they think the whole idea is overblown, and they never actually heard a story of somebody who's done it, who's been affected. And I was like, I know 7 people who've been really smashed by this. So yeah, it happens. So fucking be careful. Every time I can, I get rid of them. Every time I still have some, and anytime it's like goodbye.